I remember my first, I suppose, stereotypical concussion quite well, because it happened in training, and I was driving home from training and had to stop the car because I didn't know where I was or how to get home.
Concussion is a brain injury. It's caused by force transmitted either directly to the head or indirectly to the head through a blow to the body.
Over the course of my career, I've played from 17, and even before that when I was a kid growing up. I would say, looking back, at least, one a year over the course of my career. I wouldn't have known at the time there were concussions, but looking back now, I would say definitely there were.
There are several common misconceptions to do with concussion. I think the strongest one is the idea that you have to be knocked out to have a concussion. That only happens in about 10% of people. The vast majority of players who have a concussion don't lose consciousness, they're not knocked out. The other one would be that you have to have a bang on the head to get a concussion. It can be that it's just a shoulder charge, a body check, that can give enough force to the head and to the brain to cause a concussion without actually a bang on the head.
So the concussion took place in a game. It was an aerial duel between me and the striker. Boat has gone up as normal. I did win the header, but then I head-butted the back of her head.
So it was about 10 minutes into the game. Just gone up for a header with a guy, gone to flick the ball on, and he's just come straight through me with his elbow to the back of my head, and I fell forward and smashed my face on the floor.
The last concussion I had, the last game I played was for Colorado Rapids, playing LA Galaxy, and was banged to the head on the ground, treatment, and went through the thing on the pitch with the doctor and the physio, and it was fine. I thought it was 100%. It's only after 5 or 10 minutes I started to feel not right, I suppose not forgetting stuff, but more there but not there feeling on the pitch. Looking back at my different concussions, it's always the case it was delayed. It wasn't something that I would have known straight away. It took 5 minutes, 10 minutes to kick in.
The med team immediately came onto the pitch, and then obviously instantly they could see where I'd had the impact on my head. Asked me a couple of questions, where are you, what day is it, the score, do you feel okay? And in that moment I did feel fine. I remember asking them, is it cut, is there blood? They said no blood's fine. And they said, are you okay to go back on? And because I passed all the questions, I was like, yeah, I'm fine.
I wanted to play on, so my manager said we'll give you a few minutes, and he was obviously just watching me play, and I was moving like he described it like I was drunk, and he said I had to come off because I wasn't moving properly. The nature of the grassroots game, you can be playing against someone that used to be an ex-pro at times, or you could be playing against someone that's been out the night before, so that it's a lot clumsier, a lot more physical at times.
The key message is recognise and remove. So if you think somebody has suspected concussion, they should be removed from the field of play and not be allowed to return that same day, and then an opinion sought from an experienced doctor.
It wasn't till after the game and everything had settled and I could actually take time to reflect on what had happened that I started getting headaches and a real pain, just like a throb. The day after, I think that night I couldn't really deal with light or noise. I got back and I just wanted to lay down pretty much and just rest, and it was just extra. Everything was very sensitive.
The day after I did go to my GP because I was getting the symptoms of concussion. I was quite nauseous, I was being sick, I was dizzy, and he said just don't go to sleep for the next few hours because I felt really, really tired. And if the symptoms continue, you need to go to hospital to get checked out, but they didn't continue. But he said to not play for 2 weeks, so I didn't.
No, just headaches, a lot lower energy levels, feeling, lack of enthusiasm for training, lack of enthusiasm for games for the week or two afterwards.
Probably should have just took it a little bit slower instead of rushing to get back, and obviously all I had in my head was the game. I was like, I've got to, push to get back, and obviously then at that point I didn't really understand concussion or the symptoms or what you needed to look out for, so I think now I'm more educated on that. I can definitely look out for that in the future, and it is something I do take more seriously now.
5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, I would have, just you come back and you play a week later, or you come back and play the next day, as in everyone else's case, you got banged head, didn't feel great, and fine the next day. What I would say gave me a concussion here then wouldn't have given me a concussion 7 or 8 years previously. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that it became easier to get a concussion later on due to maybe not taking the time out when I should have earlier in my career.
If you have an injury, a brain injury, that's affecting your brain function, you're not going to be adding anything to the team. You're not going to be making effective decisions. You're not going to be contributing to the sports side of football?
I got knocked out on the pitch for a good few seconds, and I came around and I played the rest of the game. I don't remember the game. That was, stupid. I come around on the pitch. I knew I'd been knocked out, but by the time the physio and the doctors came on, I suppose I was back to and I'm fine or whatever, and I went and played the rest of the game, didn't remember it, flew off to play with Ireland I think afterwards. But again, that was 2008, 4 or 5 years later that wouldn't be the case. Everyone's knowledge, everyone's seriousness of the issue, everyone, players and staff are a lot more aware of it, so I don't think that would happen now, which is a very good thing. And I didn't play well in those few weeks. I played terrible actually, it didn't help me at all.
If they've got a brain injury, they won't be able to control their limbs while they're doing the sport, so they put themselves at risk of a knee injury or a muscle injury. The FA guideline has 3 main principles. Recognise and remove. If you suspect concussion, they should be removed from the field of play. Rest the body, rest the brain. That means that when somebody is removed, they have to undergo a particular rest period before they look to return to sport. And then the graduated return to play, which is a sequential series of exercises that begin very low level and get slightly more intense all the way up to returning to play. The exact amount of time that protocol takes will vary depending on the age of the injured player. Children have more conservative guidelines than adults, and we'd recommend that everybody refers to the FA guideline that's online so that you can establish the exact timescales for your injured player.
My dad, who I didn't really expect, he was like, it's a serious thing, this mill. It's like rest of your life. It's not just your career, it's your life itself. It's definitely something that I want to get across to people, to make sure you take care of yourself and, let the medicals do their job, even if it is you're passionate about getting back and, you want to put yourself in a better position, moving forward in the future. It could have really affected me, but, luckily I've learnt from that situation and moving forward it won't happen again. Speaking
to the, neurologists and all, they said the next concussion, the problem is you get stuck with the symptoms. They don't go away after 6 weeks, they don't go away after 2 months. They could continue with you for a foreseeable future. So that was, when I decided I'm 34 and time to, take their advice. Within 2 months of finishing, I felt back to myself after the last concussion last September. Now, thankfully, I don't have any side effects. I have to be careful. Any bangs to the head now, I don't feel great straight away. Any little, knock from my son or whatever when I'm playing with him, he gives me a little bang back saying I don't feel great, but it clears up very quickly. And so I'm glad that was the reason we came to the decision to retire when I did.
Football is a fantastic game, but it can affect you in the long term. It is your life you've got to look after ultimately. And I think within county FAs they're doing a great job now of raising awareness of concussion, because it's not just the coaches and the medical staff that need to be aware of it, it's the players themselves. As a player and as a teammate, look out for your other teammates. If your teammate's not looking right, you can take a bit of responsibility for them and make them get off the pitch.
Decision making around recognise and remove can be very difficult because there's a lot of outside pressures. Players want to play, coaches want players to play, even medics want players to play. But if you think about what we said about the player with a brain injury, they can't process information. With a concussion, they're not thinking straight, they're not thinking in a rational way. It's important that the coach and anybody else and other players and the medics all trust what they see and what they feel more than what the player is saying, because the player's not really a reliable witness if they've got a concussion.
I'd just say no matter how big the game is or what situation you're in, your health comes first, and without your health there's no career anyway. Kind of just be open about absolutely everything and maybe not mention the game, maybe just focus on the moment that you're in.
I really felt in America when players have concussion, it was just, he's concussion, he's out for 2 weeks, and it was just like someone had a calf strain, they're out for 2 weeks, or a hamstring strain for 2 weeks. It's all for everyone's benefit, for players' health, for their long-term health and for their current health, to be able to go out and play better. There's no point in going out and playing next week and not playing well. Do what you're told, do what's right, and come back and you'll feel better and play better for it.
If in doubt,
sit it out.